My name is Elle. I'm a 21-year-old student in educational sciences and welcome to my channel. So I guess you came here today because you want to learn how to write better CVs and motivation letters. And if there's anything that I've learned in the past few years of being a student, is that as a student, you will probably write a lot of CVs and motivation letters in your life. You'll have to apply for educational programs, for side jobs, for regular jobs. And I think as a student, the problem is that you will probably be applying for quite different things sometimes. So one job might be more administrative, one job might be more creative, a program is way more academic. So there are many different types of CVs and motivation letters that you will be writing in your life. And this will mean that probably not all your experiences are always relevant when writing a CV, but also that you will have to refer to different skills in both your CVs and your motivation letters, depending on what you're applying for. And I noticed that for me it became quite confusing and time-consuming to have to write all these different motivation letters and CVs, and especially that I had a lot of trouble keeping track of everything that I had done and all the skills that I had acquired doing these things. So that is why I came up with this life hack or Notion organization system, which will help you keep track of your experiences and your skills so you can quickly pull up the information necessary to write your CVs and motivation letters. And please know that you really do not need to have a lot of formal work experience before this becomes helpful, because it's a database that will build. So even if you don't have that much experience now, it might be very helpful for you to already start building this database and build further on it in the future as you gain more experience. And this can also be a great opportunity to reflect on all the experiences that you have had and the skills that you have gained there, and how you can best present those in a CV or motivation letter. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it, and if you would like to see more tips relevant for students from me, then make sure to subscribe, and let's get on to the video. So the basic setup of this Notion solution is actually very simple. You have two databases. One is your experience database and the other is your skills database. And in the experience database, you can put any sort of experience that might be relevant for any type of job or university applications. So of course your education, job that you had, but also things like voluntary positions that you gained experience from. And then for your skills, of course, this differs wildly per person, but I really took this very broad. So I have certain qualities that maybe are more personal, more linked to me instead of really to my experience. But I, for example, also included programming languages because I studied computer science, regular languages, software that I'm able to use. Skills are very broad, and of course it depends on what you do and what kind of jobs and educational programs you will apply for, what will be relevant, but this hopefully gives you some sort of an illustration of what I mean by this. And then the key element to this system is that the databases are linked. So this is a way in which you can link your skills to the experiences that you gained them at or developed them at. So let's start with the experience database. And the experience database exists of a number of columns. First column is the period, and that is the period in which you gained this experience. Then the function/program title corresponds to the name that you would use to refer to this experience on a CV. And then the third column is the company/institution name and location. And these three columns are mainly there because this is the information that you definitely need if you want to put this experience on your CV. And then I also have a column for type, and I mainly use this for filtering purposes. So I have a type education, a type side job, a type volunteering. But of course you can use whatever labels fit your experience. And then I have a column linked experience, and this column actually links two entries in the database. And the reason why I have this is because sometimes I fulfilled certain functions as a subtask of an overarching function. So for example, I was a member of the student council at my previous university, and as part of this function I was also the co-chair of a committee that organized an event for the student council. And depending on what I'm applying for, I might just want to use my overarching function, or I might also want to put in sort of my sub-function if this sub-function is particularly relevant for whatever I'm applying to. And the same goes, for example, for internships that have been conducted as part of your education. And then the last column is linked skills. And this column I use to link particular experiences to skills that I gained during these experiences. And then in terms of the actual pages, because as you probably know if you have used Notion before, every entry in a database also has its own page. And these pages I use to collect bullet point descriptions of my experiences. So you know that in most standard CVs, you usually use bullet points to sort of elaborate on the experiences that you've gained. Well, that is exactly what I collect here. So this usually involves things like the main tasks that were part of your function, the focus of your educational program, if it has multiple tracks, for example, and also any achievements that you might want to highlight. And a great tip for people that often have to make CVs or motivation letters in multiple languages is to have translations in all the languages that you will probably use. So I'm Dutch, but I also apply to English language jobs or educational programs. So all these bullet points I have both in English and in Dutch, so that I can quickly copy paste them whenever I create my CV. And then for all the education experiences, I also include in the page the courses that I've taken, because it's nice to have that collected in one central place as well. And then my next database is the skills database, and this is actually a very simple database, so it only has 3 columns. The first is the name of your skill, so for example French, Python, organization. It can be anything, just whatever name you would call the skill that you are referring to. And then category, and again this is mainly to be able to quickly find the skills that I'm looking for. So for example, I have categories for programming languages, software, regular languages, general qualities, but you can of course use any categorization that fits the skills that you have. And then the last column is the gained in column, and of course you can also call it developed in, and this is again the column that refers back to the experience database. And this can be very helpful, for example, when you are writing a motivation letter, because then you can quickly find the experience that you can use to exemplify or back up the skill that you mentioned in your motivation letter. So then for the pages in the skills database, I use them to write down situations or achievements that I feel illustrate my skills. And this will really improve how persuasive your motivation letters are. Because of course, if you can give an example of a situation in which you were able to successfully apply a certain skill, this will add a lot of legitimacy to what you're saying. And it's also a great way to prepare yourself for interviews, because whatever job interview you will be in, you will probably at some point be asked, okay, you said you are good at this. How do I know? Can you tell me an example? And then you have all the answers right in this database. And of course, don't think that all these examples have to be huge accomplishments. It can really be something small as receiving a high mark for an assignment in which you showed a certain skill, or compliments from your colleagues, peers, teachers, or former employers. So yeah, for me these 2 databases have really upped my CV and motivation letter game, and also made the process of writing a CV or motivation letter so much quicker, and I hope the same will happen for you. And then whenever I am actually writing a motivation letter or CV, I just scroll through these databases and pick and choose whatever I think is most relevant and create a CV or motivation letter story from there. And it's definitely way faster than the previous way in which I did it, which was to just scroll through old CVs and motivation letters and get all my information from there. And of course, if you come up with a new CV bullet point or with a new example for one of your skills, add them to the database so you always have this one resource where everything is collected. So yeah, I hope that was helpful. If it was, please like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments if you will try this system out. Bye!